Good afternoon and welcome back to another episode of The Longing, where today we're going to be continuing to read The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. And again, if we get to the end of a chapter, we're going to do a little bit of time reversal because we are getting quite low on the number of days. So, let's get on with reading first. Stepping out from behind my tree and looking back, I saw, through the black pillars of the nearest trees, the flames of the burning forest. It was my first fire coming after me. With that I looked for Weena, but she was gone. The hissing and crackling behind me, the explosive thud as each fresh tree burst into flame, left little time for reflection. My iron bar still gripped, I followed in the Morlock's path. It was a close race. Once the flames crept forward so swiftly on my right side as I ran that I was outflanked and had to strike off to the left. But at last I emerged upon a small open space, and as I did so, a Morlock came blundering towards me and past me and went straight into the fire. And now I was to see the most weird and horrible thing, I think, of all that I beheld in that future age. This whole space was as bright as day with the reflection of the fire. In the centre was a hillock or tumulus, surmounted by a scorched hawthorn. Beyond this was another arm of the burning forest, with yellow tongues already writhing from it, completely encircling the space with a fence of fire. Upon the hillside were some 30 or 40 Morlocks, dazzled by the light and heat, and blundering hither and thither against each other in their bewilderment. At first I did not realize their blindness, and struck furiously at them with my bar, in a frenzy of fear as they approached me, killing one and crippling several more. But when I had watched the gestures of one of them groping under the hawthorn against the red sky, and heard their moans, I was assured of their absolute helplessness and misery in the glare, and I struck no more of them. Yet every now and then one would come straight towards me, setting loose a quivering horror that made me quick to elude him. At one time the flames died down somewhat, and I feared the foul creatures would presently be able to see me. I was thinking of beginning the fight by killing some of them before this should happen, but the fire burst out again brightly, and I stayed my hand. I walked about the hill among them, and avoided them, looking for some trace of Weena, but Weena was gone. At last I sat down on the summit of the hillock, and watched this strange, incredible company of blind things groping to and fro, and making uncanny noises to each other, as the glare of the fire beat on them. The coiling uprush of smoke streamed across the sky, and through the rare tatters of that red canopy, remote as though they belonged to another universe, shone the little stars. 2 or 3 Morlocks came blundering into me, and I drove them off with blows of my fists, trembling as I did so. For the most part of that night, I was persuaded it was a nightmare. I bit myself and screamed in a passionate desire to awake. I beat the ground with my hands, and got up and sat down again, and wandered here and there, and again sat down. Then I would fall to rubbing my eyes and calling upon God to let me awake. Thrice I saw Morlocks put their heads down in a kind of agony and rush into the flames. But at last, above the subsiding red of the fire, above the streaming masses of black smoke and the whitening and blackening tree stumps, and the diminishing numbers of these dim creatures, came the white light of the day. I searched again for traces of Weena, but there were none. It was plain that they had left her poor little body in the forest. I cannot describe how it relieved me to think that it had escaped the awful fate to which it seemed destined. As I thought of that, I was almost moved to begin a massacre of the helpless abominations about me, but I contained myself. The hillock, as I have said, was a kind of island in the forest. From its summit I could now make out through a haze of smoke the palace of green porcelain, and from that I could get my bearings for the White Sphinx. And so, leaving the remnant of these damned souls, still going hither and thither and moaning, as the day grew clearer, I tied some grass about my feet, and and limped on across smoking ashes and among black stems that still pulsated internally with fire, towards the hiding place of the time machine. I walked slowly, for I was almost exhausted, as well as lame, and I felt the intensest wretchedness for the horrible death of little Weena. It seemed an overwhelming calamity. Now, in this old familiar room, it is more like the sorrow of a dream than an actual loss. But that morning, it left me absolutely lonely again, terribly alone. I began to think of this house of mine, of this fireside, of some of you, and with such thoughts came a longing that was pain. But as I walked over the smoking ashes, under the bright morning sky, I made a discovery. In my trouser pocket were still some loose matches. The box must have leaked before it was lost. And with that, we come to the end of the episode. So, we are going to do a little bit of time reversal now. So, how do we do that again? We do that by making a blue fire. I almost forgot how we did that for just a moment. So, let's get that done. Blue fire of lapis. And then we reverse the time using Thus Spoke Zarathustra. This has been our go-to time reversal for ever such a long time now. I don't think we've ever reversed time with any other book. I think it has just been Thus Spoke Zarathustra. And we're definitely going to have to reverse time a few times before we're actually done. Just because we may as well get it back as far as we can before ending the episode. Otherwise we're just going to have to do it again soon and next time. Come on, keep going. Doo-doo-doo. And we're back to normal speed. So, blue fire. Oh, apparently we're picking something up. 191 coal. So let's sit and reverse time once again. And I think we'll have to do this one more time after. Just because I think this will take us up to about 30, 32 maybe, depending on how quickly we can click. And the furthest back we can go is to 36, I think. Could be wrong, but I think it's roughly that. So we'll see. We'll see. But I think we will need to reverse time once more. We're getting kind of close. And time is back to normal. So, one more time and we're done. Blue fire. Last time reversal. Excellent. Oops. That has actually potentially ended up as timing quite well. Right, we can't get that reversed anymore. Ooh, although, if we could... we could theoretically reverse time much, much further. With a lot of effort, mind you, by actually waiting the number of seconds. Just constantly cycling the blue fire on. Totally not worth it, though. And we're not going to do that. So I am going to say thank you very much for joining me today, though. That is the end of the episode. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, or night. No matter what time of day it is, I hope you all have a wonderful one of it. And as always, we will be back tomorrow for more of The Longing. Goodbye.